Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Dan French. This is Wealthytainment, and today we have a great topic that we're going to talk about. I'm going to bring in my good friend Chris. We're going to discuss what's happening. Why is land being bought up at the rate that it is? Bill Gates is a big culprit of this in the Midwest. Farmland, ranches. There's just a lot of different land right now being bought in the Midwest by a lot of the rich, the elites out there. And so, why is this happening? Why are they taking up farmland and putting a lot of these families out of business, potentially renting them back to the same families that he buys from? And it's not just Bill Gates, it's a lot of different entities and corporations and different people that are buying, that are billionaires, that are buying these properties. And so let's get into this right now and talk about what's the outcome for this. Is there going to be a good outcome for these families, and where is the farmland headed for the U.S.? So, Chris, what's going on, man? How you been?
Hey, my brother, what's going on? Always wonderful.
Yeah.
Uh, yeah. Nothing that I need to complain about. We're up early today, and we can share this perspective on another topic. So let's go ahead and get to it.
Yeah, man. So I want to get into this. I want to talk about, her name is Vandana Shiva. She came out and was trying to expose Bill Gates and what he's really trying to do with this farmland and what her position is on this. So let's listen to what she has to say. And then when we come back, Chris and I will give our opinion.
Attack what you describe as the billionaire dictators, especially one man, I should say, Bill Gates, who you describe as the Christopher Columbus, I'm quoting you, of modern times, and that's not a compliment, obviously, whose mission is to impose, quote unquote, genetically modified organisms and digital dictatorship to small farmers across the world. Bill Gates, who's donated billions to improve public health in poor countries and so on, you're saying essentially he's a dictator. And he's there not to help, but to make people poorer, more dependent.
Well, Bill Gates is actually continuing the work of Monsanto because Monsanto had so many movements, and we held a tribunal on Monsanto. A buyer bought up Monsanto, but when Bill Gates pours money into Africa for feeding the poor in Africa and preventing famine, what's he doing? He's pushing the failed green revolution. He's pushing chemicals, pushing GMOs, pushing patents. And now pushing new...
Knowingly, or he thinks it's a good thing and he may be wrong?
Well,
it's not the same thing.
There's enough evidence of what it does. There are enough letters to him from farmers of Africa, from governments of Africa to say, this is not the way to go. The United Nations accepts agroecology, working with ecological systems, as the best way to go. Now, Bill Gates is trying very hard to shift the patenting issue now to digital. So you just take a genomic map and you say, my invention. You don't create a seed. Seed is self-organized, self-making, and evolution in continuity. Just by making a map, a genome, and you have no idea what the seed does. And this is something he's pushing very, very hard. My book records how he financed DivSeek. I've talked about how he's pirated seeds we have saved that tolerate salt and floods, and he says invention. This biopiracy is a bit like Columbus, where Columbus is supposed to have discovered America when he basically went as a pirate. Why do I call him today's Columbus? Because he's carving out new colonies. Software should have stayed open software.
So you say he has a strategy, a nefarious strategy, what you describe as philanthrocapitalism, is a nefarious enterprise. And so you're not saying he's using the wrong methods, he's pursuing a wrong goal with self-interest. You also attack Mark Zuckerberg, the founder of Facebook, saying they're all linked together. I mean, this reeks a bit of conspiracy theory, doesn't it?
Well, my book is based on the new evidence that's coming out. All you have to do is see the ownership, and I have data in the book on how there's common ownership. We stopped Mark Zuckerberg from trying to get into Indian agriculture. It was a big mobilization of people who believe in the open internet.
What did he want to do?
Well, basically what they do is they mine the data from the farmers. And right now, all over the world, there's new debates on privacy issues, on the data mining. There's new books on new form of capitalism, which is surveillance capitalism, where you basically have turned human beings into your new raw material. So Bill Gates does both. He takes living resources and our seeds and biodiversity, mines it into data and wants ownership along with his friends. And Mark Zuckerberg mines your data and your behaviors and turns it into the raw material, both of corporate world for selling things, which is why strange advertisements pop up after you've sent a message to a friend, and manipulating elections. I have a chapter in the book on the hijack of democracy.
There's a lot of people out there, Chris, that have interviewed her and say, you know, she's not off her rocker like a lot of people are trying to say that she is. You know, GMOs and chemicals and things of that sort, that's been around for a long time. So as far as people talking about how that's not healthy, you know, I have a grandfather that lives up in Tennessee, and he was diagnosed with a lot of health issues. And what he ended up doing is he has a big spread of land out there. He bought his land out there. He built his own house. He started to grow his own crops, grow his own food. And, you know, knock on wood, he had health issues. He had, you know, a heart problem. And I'm not saying it's cured everything, but I can tell you that is there some merit to growing your own food, not having those chemicals? Your body doesn't really need those things. And ultimately, what is going to happen if they continue to do this with the, you know, GMOs and the chemicals that they're putting on this food? And is this something that they're going to continuously buy this land? I think there's a lot of people with outrage. I think there's a lot of people out there that just do not like big monopoly, or people out there that are going to come in and buy land. And really, you got to think, if you look at an American or people in America that are, it's vital that they get this food. There's so many people now that are reliant on, you know, these farmland and this food. They almost are under control, Chris, because you got to think, where else? I mean, unless you're going to go grow your own crops in your backyard, which, you know, a lot of people said, hey, you should start doing that. They're forced to go buy this food at whatever cost, whatever they're putting in it. They're not doing a research about what's actually in the food itself. And so the outcome is, yes, the Zuckerbergs and the Bill Gates and the Buffetts of the world are controlling what the narrative is for us Americans. And I think nobody likes to be controlled. I think that's why there's so much outrage on this. And I think it's something to watch that Bill Gates, you know, you look at our land here. We're in Nevada. You know, Nevada is really monopolized. I think 80% of the land is owned by our government. That's another topic. The government also owns 1/3 of the American land. I think part of that's Alaska, which is a big part. But at the same time, why is government even owning land in the beginning, right? I think there's certain things like, you know, conservation parks and things like that that's necessary. We're not saying that. We're saying, why is government involved, though, overall in just owning land and just storing it or holding on to it? And I think that's where a lot of people have questions. It's like, okay, first off, you're controlling the crops, you're controlling the food. You're not allowing a lot of people out there to grow their own, you know, they don't have the capacity or the place to grow. And so a lot of people are going to be reliant. You're just trying to focus on paying your bills. A lot of people are going to be reliant on whatever these entities do with you know, producing food and what they put on the food. And then ultimately, will anybody have the ability to even buy this land in the future? I think these are a lot of questions that people have been kind of, you know, contemplating. And I think that's why there's a lot of outrage and pushback for a guy like Bill Gates, for people that are out there trying to buy up land and not give that opportunity to somebody else. Because like I said, man, if I'm Bill Gates, I'm worth $131 billion, I believe is what his worth is. You could pretty much write your ticket on anything you want to buy for the most part in the world.
So, and this is not to defend Bill Gates. I don't give a fuck if he buys all of it or none of it. But our food being modified, that's been happening well before Bill Gates decided to jump in the food industry or the farmland game. So we'll acknowledge
well, I'm going to
that.
say this though, but if you have a way to change that narrative or to change that path, you know, I think what the big thing is that we don't discredit that it was here before him and it'll be here after him. It's if you have power, you were given the opportunity. I mean, yes, he's Microsoft. Okay, great. He had not a one-hit wonder, obviously, but I mean, it's not like a lot of these people, man, they just get into, they made one thing or did one thing for the most part, and then now they think they can influence all these other things because one thing really worked. You know, you can make an argument that a lot of these things, that these other things that a lot of these millionaires and billionaires try to tap into, it's not as successful, or it's actually a failure. So yes, I agree with that, but I think when people look at this and say you have the power to make change, you're not making change. You're using shell companies to buy more land and ultimately have more control and more power. I think there's a power thing here.
Oh well, yeah, that's what I said in the beginning. But what he decides to do with his influence or his position, that's a different topic for a different podcast. I don't care about that. He doesn't need to do whatever just to appease the public. He can do whatever he wants. So if his agenda is to get more power, that's what it is. And the food industry plays off other industries, because if you can control what goes into the food, then you can control the health industry. Well, why does that matter? Well, because now that's the pharmaceutical industry, right? So if, according to what people think, let's just say that they're, genetically modifying the food and it's to fuck up your health, well, now you have to go to the doctor. Now you have to get prescriptions. Now, when another medicine or a prescription is rolled out, oh, are you having problems with this, and this? But by just default, it's coming from the food that you're consuming. Now you're having complications with certain health aspects, and it's all the ecosystem, the way it's designed. They all play off of each other. I think that's more of the control play versus just the actual food for money. So the other people who just say, oh, it's money, that's probably the ninth or 10th thing on the list in terms of why one would want to control the farmland and the growth of food, because then you can control what goes in it. And if you can control what goes in it, then you can control how the body will react to it, which is now into the pharmaceutical industry. So it's a whole, put it this way, we could do more research and we could do years of research and we wouldn't be able to uncover the true agenda on why the elites and why powerful do exactly what they want to do. Yeah, I mean, it's always easy to just go to it's an evil thing, or just cynical. Just he wants to depopulize, because there's a article about him wanting to depopulize depopulize the America. There's others. There's more negative things about Bill Gates than positive. The one shining thing is that he did create Microsoft. Now they're saying that he stole it. It's just never ending. So, in terms of that part, whether do it for good, that to me, I don't care about that, because we can't control moralistically or character or people's character within themselves. That if you, whatever your belief is, your spiritual belief, he'll have to answer for that, in another lifetime.
Yeah. I mean, it comes down to this, man. It comes down to, I think alarms are going off in people's head. At least it's going off in my head. My kids and their kids, when your kids, what are they going to be dealing with when we're gone? Are they going to be dealing with somebody that has dictatorship at this level where everything's controlled? I know a lot of things are controlled today, but I think that's the big thing. It's people don't want to have control over their lives. And I feel this is another form, putting it right out in their face. This is control. This is, I have money. I'm going to determine how this food and how things are going to be grown. I'm going to determine what path we're going to go. He may have an agenda to go where it's less cows and doing whatever his thing is. I think that's not something that somebody should be playing around with because they have money. And you see this far too often where people that do have money want to influence the direction of how things typically go. And I think that's what the scary part is. When you have that much money, that much power, I think it's only a matter of time before you start to flex your muscles. And he's doing that right now.
Yep.
So you got anything else to say?
Now, brother, we'll keep an eye on this article, not a close eye, but and just see how things unravel, and then we'll have a follow up to this article. But other than that, brother, it's always a pleasure. Like, subscribe for those that found this, this topic and this perspective, something that they could feel like they want to receive on a monthly basis. And we appreciate everybody for listening.
Yeah, guys, that's it. Wealthy Tainment, like he said, subscribe, like the channel, and we'll see you guys out on the next one. Hopefully you like the content today. We'll see you then.
Appreciate you.